A few reasons.
Okay, just as a heads up. Okay, just as a heads up. If it's gotten to the point to where you're being served papers, guys, at that point, whether you want to participate or not, you're roped into some legal action. I am not a lawyer. However, I would highly recommend that if you are getting served papers, meaning that through some official channel, either somebody's knocking at your door and asking for an ID or confirming your identity and then giving you papers from a courthouse, or you might be able to do it with first class certified USPS, you might be able to serve. I don't remember if you can accept service that way or not, I'm not sure. But if that's happening, if you're getting served court papers, you need to do, you have to do a legal consultation. You can't just not respond and see what happens. Certified mail, you might be able to do service through certified mail. I don't know if that depends on the type of claim or not, but you have to, or if you don't want to get a lawyer, go to the courthouse and read and look up on how you need to respond to this particular thing, because there's been legal action started and you don't want to be, you don't want to be in a situation to where you're missing court dates or you're missing filing deadlines to do responses or whatever, and now you're like even more because if the other person wants to take it to court and they've already gotten like stuff served to you, like there's a chance that this is going to go to court whether you want it to or not. So
number one, I have seen how this employer handles legal issues, and
or move off the grid, never respond, never get subpoenaed. Base, true.
I knew that once I opened the door to legal abuse, it would never ever be shut. This is how they operate. In fact, I'm not the only one who's a current victim. My former employer is exploiting the legal system to use others right now, all in the darkness, fully knowing that the fear and risks it takes to speak up. This kind of harassment at the hands of the powerful isn't just designed to financially ruin somebody. It's designed to cripple their soul. And I wasn't about to put my family on embarking upon a journey down that road. Number two, I was not about to allow the privacy of my personal life, the trust I have with my friends, and the real relationships I have with them to be violated in such an vindictive and abusive manner. It simply was not going to happen. I received...
I would say normally, okay, I have to like shift gears because I've been in the red pill world for so long. I have to shift gears in terms of talking about this. Because in the red pill world, people might threaten to sue you and do shit, but everybody there is broke. Nobody there actually has any money, so it doesn't matter. So when these guys are talking about suing people and shit, they might get a guy from a law firm to write like a cease and desist on like a letterhead or whatever. But now in this world, Steven Crowder is loaded. Okay, so if this guy's sending you shit, it's because he's already got a lawyer, he's already paid a retainer, and he's probably ready to you if he's legitimately serving you papers, or you should at least assume so. So oof. Because I was gonna say it'd be funny to like fund the other side of this lawsuit, but I wouldn't ever want to be on the other end of this shit.
I received the latest article of legal harassment on Friday, March 22nd, 2024. After months now of litigation exhausting even the court with relentless amendments to their Rule 202 petition, my ex-employer was finally awarded.
Oh, okay. It sounds like he does have legal counsel, I think. That's what it sounds like, right?
Their request for my oral deposition and any document or communication with my friends that they believe may provide any avenue to sue me or others. As it stands, they await my forced cooperation. I will not. I will continue to fight. Now, here's the big question, is what was their entire reason for this harassment and the basis for their claims? These documents, an NDA. Some more context. I signed this separation agreement, an NDA, containing a strict and very broad non-disparagement clause many years ago. I voluntarily left my job after deciding I could no longer put myself or my growing family through the toxic and abusive work environment I had endured for years.
Oof. I think California has outlawed a lot of these NDAs because these things can be unbelievably broad. NDA stands for non-disclosure agreement, and basically what it means is these are things that you're not allowed to talk about. In some cases, we can imagine NDAs are super reasonable. Say you're working in a technology lab and you're privy to some very important like insider secrets, and if you leave the company for some number of years, you're not allowed to talk about these or something like that. But some NDAs can be incredibly broad, such that you're signing non-competes, meaning you can't contact prior customers, you can't work for people in the same field. You'll sign NDAs into perpetuity, meaning you can't talk about anything even remotely. The idea is just that the tendrils grow so far that they can sue you for basically anything if they want to show you up for something. But I don't know how many of these NDAs are enforceable. It gets really weird when you start taking these to court, because I think a lot of these NDAs will get knocked down to where a judge will look at this and be like, this is way too broad. You're insane to think that this NDA was ever going to be enforceable. Remember, when you're signing paperwork from, okay, hold on, careful. very broad legal advice. It's not legal advice. I'm not a lawyer, but just stuff to keep in mind. Just because you sign something doesn't necessarily mean it is a legally enforceable document that 100% will hold up in court and will you. It's basically an agreement that two parties are signing, but there are a variety of reasons why you're not allowed to sign certain things, even if somebody puts it in front of you. Just because you sign it doesn't necessarily mean that you're beholden to it, right? Like if somebody signs and says, listen, we're going to bump your pay up $5 an hour, so you're going to get $15 an hour working this job, but if you fail to show up to work for 3 days in a row through the form of a no-call, no-show, we're going to come to your house and execute your child, right? If you get sick and you don't call out because you're in a coma for 3 days, and then they come to your house to kill your child and you go to court, it's highly unlikely the judge is going to say, well, you did sign the paper, sorry, but looks like Lil Nathan's going to have his head removed tonight. Like, that's probably not going to happen. He's represented by Sydney Handjerker at Handjerker, Cohen, and Bromberg. Thanks for the dono.
This place was and is to this day a workplace rife with sexual misconduct, degeneracy.
Had Destiny, would they ever just use this to scare him, knowing the NDA wouldn't hold in court? Yeah, it's possible. People could. Yeah, of course. Like, letterheads from law firms when you're just an ordinary civilian are kind of scary, or citizen, I should say. Yeah, it's spooky and scary. If you don't have any formal engagement with the legal system, then it's like, oh God, like my whole life is going to end. And to be fair, if I had to guess, 90% of Americans don't know the difference between like a civil and a criminal matter, for instance. So yeah, legal shit is always spooky.
And aggression. The things I saw, the things done to me, and the things I witnessed my employer do to others were disgusting, shocking, and utterly indefensible. I have the receipts. This all took a serious toll on my personal health. To the point near the end of my tenure, the work environment had become so toxic that I had to be admitted into a heart hospital. And after many tests, I was ultimately put on anti-anxiety medication. This condition was something new to me. I had no history of it prior to my employment there and have never been treated for it since. Now, when I decided to resign, my wife was pregnant with her firstborn child. It was a terrifying position to be put in, but I absolutely knew that I could not be the husband or dad I was called to be for them in my current state. Something had to change, and if I couldn't change my work environment, then it was time for me to remove myself from it. I was fully aware that willfully resigning would mean I would forfeit any sort of severance. I trusted that God would provide. What I had not anticipated is how much it would cost me to quit. This is where my first experience with legal abuse began. Starting from the day I delivered my notice of resignation, I was put on the phone with company lawyers, and the good cop, bad cop coercion campaign to get my signature on an NDA was well underway. I was told many lies throughout this process. I immediately hired.
Also, I say this when I talk about foreign policy. I say this when I talk about the government. I say this when I talk about everything, okay? You need to understand what things are designed to do based on who they work for and who's paying them, okay? Kind of the same thing, okay? So, for instance, when I talk about unions, okay? Unions do not exist to make America a better place. Unions don't exist to make people happier. They don't exist to help our country. Unions exist to represent employees. That's it. They represent the people that they represent. That's all, okay? Whatever group of employees. So in some cases it might be really good. In some cases it might be really bad, but that's what they do. That's all they do. When you are on the phone and you're speaking to representation from a company, that representation's goal is to represent that company. They're looking out for their best interests, not yours. You absolutely never, ever, ever need to forget this. You never, ever, ever want to forget. You need to remember this for the rest of your life. When you go to HR, when you go to anything, okay, the goal there is to protect the people that are paying them. You don't hire HR to help your employees against yourself. It wouldn't make any sense. You would never do that, right? This is why oftentimes if you're signing with a label for music, or if you're signing in esports to a team or whatever, you should have representation, legal counsel that you have retained on your own. Don't use their guy. Don't be like, oh, we'll send you a guy to like help you work out the stuff. He's their representative. He's being paid by them. You don't want to use their dude who's being paid by them and represents them and their interests to help you. They're not going to help you. They're going to fuck you.
Hire my own legal counsel, and by the grace of God, understanding my predicament, he even agreed to work for half of his normal rate. Even so, the legal fees immediately began to pile up. My former employer and his attorney argued I could not work in media anywhere in the world, and most certainly not in the United States for 2 years. This is not because I had voluntarily signed some sort of non-compete in my original employment agreements. It was because they decided a non-solicitation clause that was in said original agreements would retroactively be interpreted as the broadest and strictest non-compete one could draft. They told me my Twitter account, another potential lifeline to future work, which I'd owned and been the sole manager of since 2009, was to be turned over to them on the argument that it was somehow their intellectual property now. Presumably to keep me from working even further, my former employer even tried to claim that
Wait. Sorry. Hold on. I'm sorry, because I just saw this. Hold on.